The competitive scenario in the video games is used to this weird thing of having a number 2 after the title of some of its most popular games. Team Fortress 2 and Dota 2 are both excellent examples of very popular games with a 2 stuck on the end of their names. And now one of the most popular games in the competitive scenario is going through the same path. But is it really? Does Overwatch deserve the number 2 that's gonna hang after its name? Let's find out. My name is Lucas Highland and this is What to Expect from Overwatch 2. Overwatch is inserted in the most difficult area inside of the gaming industry, the toxic, filthy competitive gaming, where small kids curse you and your next 3 generations of unborn family, with curse words that you, as a full-grown adult, didn't even know exist. Generally speaking, most games we know have a monetization system called buy to play. You buy it, you play it, the developers use their money to pay their employees, profit, and finance their next game to repeat the cycle. I'm happy, you are happy, they are happy, it's basically world peace. Alright, maybe I exaggerated a bit. These games normally have a well-defined cycle, unless we are talking about GTA 5, but anyway, the developers are aware the game is going to stay commercially appealing for a short period of time, and they don't need it to be any different. But this is not the case with most competitive games, online first games, and infinite games. These ones need constant updates. Players need new things inside the games. Otherwise, the lack of surprise and innovation will make the game repetitive and boring. Just like a marriage going through a mid-age crisis. And in the long run, they will reach the late game with nothing else to add to their experience inside the game, making them leave the game once and for all. I can't say I'm surprised once most people don't have the attention span needed to watch a full TikTok. And I'm being literal. So what is the actual problem here? Money is the actual problem here, as always. As Overwatch developers only charge once for the game, after the initial phase they will get way less money to reinvest in developing the game. After all, this game needs to be in constant development, and this requires constant more money. If they don't get more money, they cannot pay their employees to develop the game. And the updates, well, they will stop. And as it is very predictable, the community inside of the game are going to be extremely unhappy. Can you relate the situation with any game you know? Because I can, and we've been talking about this game since the beginning of the video. But you ask me, Lucas, Albert Einstein of the 21st century, what is the solution? The solution is come up with a monetization system that works for the long run, instead of only on the short term like Overwatch 1 did. I know they tried a different way to monetize the game through the Overwatch championships, but it didn't work quite well because, you know, we've been locked away for almost 2 years and only now we are going back to normal. And the loot boxes, come on, I think you already know that everybody hates loot boxes. Yet, they still wasting hundreds, if not thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in loot boxes inside of Diablo Immortal. But this is a conversation for another video. My point is, loot boxes are bad. People don't like them enough. At least they are not putting enough money to make them able to update Overwatch 1 consistently. And probably Blizzard was aware of this. This is why they are making everything different in Overwatch 2. And it was slowly happening. Players were leaving Overwatch, not because they didn't like the game, but because they were missing new updates, new heroes, new maps, new game modes, new things that would add new flavor to the game, that would attract more players, that's equal to more people to hate, more people to curse, more people to be mad with, right? At least this seems to be the reason why most people play competitive games nowadays. But Blizzard was aware they needed an update. So what did they do? Release good game updates to save the game? Nah. That's too obvious and good for the community. It couldn't be like this. Let's launch a new game! Haha! Overwatch 2! Now Overwatch 2 is going to be the definite version of Overwatch, because it has the 2 in the end of the name, like Team Fortress 2, Dota 2, right? Well, Not that much. See, in my opinion, from what we saw so far from Overwatch 2 is not as an actual new game. It looks more like a major update, reusing the vast majority of the original Overwatch than a whole new game. Just so you can compare, Team Fortress and Dota got the two after their names because both their first versions were actually mods of other games. Team Fortress 1 was a mod of Quake from 1996, and Dota was a mod of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos from 2002. And there is no way in the world you can refer to these two games as a major update, just like I mentioned Overwatch 2 is probably going to be. Just for reference, this is Quake from 1996, and this is Team Fortress 2 from 2007. It's like comparing a bag of potatoes with a $50 premium vodka bottle. It's okay to make this confusion if you had enough vodka, but I hope you are not in this stage right now, otherwise I suggest you to go look for a doctor right now. So again, the difference between the version 1 and 2 of these games were abysmal. Also, if it's not just a major update, why won't we be able to play Overwatch 1 anymore after Overwatch 2 is released? Sounds like an update to me, huh? And instead of telling you something, I will show what I mean and ask for your opinion instead. This is the footage of Overwatch 1, and this is the footage of what we have so far from Overwatch 2. Is the difference enough to call it a new game instead of an update? Let me know what you think in the comments. And by the way, I know that a new game is not only graphics, visuals, but I think it's a part of it too. Mainly in the competitive scenario, when I just compared Dota 1 with Dota 2 and Team Fortress 1 with Team Fortress 2. They are highly different games. And once you are down in the comments, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. I bring you new videos like this every week. I know that after this video you are probably going to hate me, but hate is also good for balancing your life, you know? So don't forget to subscribe even if you don't like me. Back to the video. Now that I already made every single Overwatch fan set a bounty on my head, let's make it a little worse, shall we? Before we move on, I have to tell you, I don't hate Overwatch. I actually like the game quite a lot. The deal of this whole video is the weird way they are calling this a new game, the way they stopped providing updates for Overwatch 1 for so long. It's just weird to me that they came up with this Overwatch 2 in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I'm an assumed Paladins fan. And again, I also love Overwatch, but Paladins is one of my favorite games ever. And needless to say that it annoys me a little bit when people refer to Paladins as a free Overwatch ripoff, because it only shows that they didn't play Paladins at all in the first place. Because if they did, they would see that they are two completely different games. Of course, they are both hero shooters, but it's the same as saying that Call of Duty is a ripoff of Wolfenstein 3D, just because they are both FPSs and Wolfenstein was released first. And just to make this interesting, if you reached this part of the video, comment below, Paladins is a ripoff of Overwatch. I promise I will keep it cool. But why did I bring this up now in a video talking about Overwatch 2? Well, because of the conclusion of this video. Overwatch 1 used to be 6 players versus 6 players. Overwatch 2 is going to be 5 versus 5. Guess what game was 5 versus 5 since the beginning? Yeah, Paladins. In Overwatch there was no way to level up your heroes, but in Overwatch 2 you will be able to level up your heroes to unlock talents. Guess what game always had talents, and you also always could level up your champions? Yeah, Paladins again. Overwatch heroes didn't have gameplay customization. Overwatch 2 with the talents will have it now. And guess what was one of the biggest differences between Paladins and Overwatch? You are correct. It was the hero customization. In the case of Paladins, champion customization. Because from what I felt playing Overwatch, it seems like there is a right and wrong way to play every hero in a game. Of course, you can customize a little bit, but you are focused and you are constrained by the skills that that hero in specific have. You can't change anything. But in Paladins, with the deck of cards, you can make the gameplay with every single champion extremely different, so you cannot expect a certain champion to be played a specific way because there are dozens of different ways to play the same champion. Again, I can be saying something wrong about Overwatch right now, let me know in the comments, but this was what I felt when I played Overwatch for around almost 100 hours now. I know that I didn't play that much compared to most people that are watching this video, but as I told you before, I like the game, but I didn't feel that the hero customization was there enough. It's more in the way you play, like with your coordination, clicking buttons, than actually changing the skills inside of the champions. In the case of Overwatch, the heroes. Overwatch players who played Paladins complained that the tanks were too bulky, and now in Overwatch 2, the tanks are going to be bulkier. Overwatch is paid, and Overwatch 2 is going to be free to play, and Paladins was always free to play. Can you see a pattern here? Because I can. And now this one genuinely impressed me. The new hero Kiriko that's going to be released in Overwatch 2 is an Asian character with a magic blue spirit fox, which is exactly the same thing as Io from Paladins, which is already in the game for almost 3 years, I think. Their gameplay will be very different, although they are both supports, and Kiriko uses kunais and paper talismans as their main weapons, while Io uses a bow. But if you don't believe they are more similar than they should, just watch the first seconds of Overwatch Kiriko's story presentation and then the first seconds of Paladin's Io story presentation.
For generations, my family has served and protected our city by following traditional paths. We watched you for eons, waiting, dreaming of the day we might meet. It wasn't supposed to be like this.
Come on, I admit that Paladins, a game I loved, inspired very much in champions from League of Legends and also from Overwatch. But in this case that you just saw, for me, it's way ahead of the limit. Basically, if they forbade you from shifting heroes during the matches and added an item system, they could also, instead of calling it Overwatch 2, name it Over Paladins. Now seriously, they are not making this just to copy Paladins, they don't want to be Paladins. I'm not saying this, I'm just bugging the Overwatch fans, aside of Kiriko of course. It's just that Paladins got those things right first, and now after analyzing the gameplay from Overwatch and how the game was balanced, they reached the same conclusions. These conclusions accidentally made the new game more similar to what Paladins always was, in terms of business models and balancing. This can be merit of Hi-Res, the developer of Paladins, of getting those things right correctly, or maybe they were lucky that they got that right at first try. But again, all those comparisons I just made was just to annoy the Overwatch fans. I know they are two extremely different games, as I mentioned before, and they are going to continue to be in Overwatch 2. Or will them? Or will not? Are they copying? Probably are. No, they're not copying. For sure, they are not copying. Or possibly if... Nah, not even like that. No, they are not copying. Unless they are... But they are also adding a very interesting PvE system in the future, like the old Call of Duty zombie mode that you are going to play with your friends against NPCs, and also a story campaign mode. This for sure will add an extra layer to the game, but in the end we are all going to play the game for the PvP, hoping it brings back the great times from one of the best PvP games ever, while doing our best to insult other people online and starting a chain of hate and intentionally working on others' depression. After reading this script, can I just ask you to be a little more gentle, humane, and polite in the next new game? They will remove 3 maps from Overwatch 1, Hanamura, Volskaya, and Temple of Anubis Assault maps, because they didn't work well with the new game mode called Push. But as these maps were important for the lore and also lots of players like them, they will rebuild these maps and bring them back in the future. Nice! They are also going to add lots of new maps inspired in real-world cities and countries, like New York City, Toronto, Rome, Rio de Janeiro, Gothenburg, Monte Carlo, India, and Portugal Esperança. Funny enough, 2 of the new maps are going to be in countries that I live in at the same time, Portugal and Brazil. Cool. I'm sure they did this thinking of me because I'm a very important person for them. And the maps are also going to have different versions from night to day. I don't know if it's just day and night or everything in between, but there's going to be different times of the day in the maps. Nothing in the gameplay is going to change, but it's going to be interesting. They're also adding these 3 new heroes: Sojourn, Junker Queen, and Kiriko. And the best part is that new maps and new heroes will be added a long time through the new monetization system, the Season Pass. I mean, the maps is not going to be in the Season Pass, but the heroes are going to be. You got it. And finally, this is what you can expect from Overwatch 2, a major update from Overwatch 1, with lots of combat balancing features, making it way closer to its competitor, Paladins, which by its popularity and player base is not a competitor at all. With interesting PvE and campaign, new mechanics, game modes, maps, and characters. It is going to be a massive addition to the game. It's going to be an excellent update. Overwatch 2 is going probably to be an excellent game, don't take me wrong, but in my opinion, it didn't deserve the 2 in the front of the name. It could just update and call it Overwatch and call it the day, because in essence, it's still being the same competitive game it always was. But if after playing Overwatch 2, I think and I really feel that I was wrong when I said that it didn't deserve the number 2 in front of the name, I will be very quick to come back here to this channel and confess that I was wrong. I have no problems with that. So is it worth the hype? For me, yes, it's worth the hype. But I would hold my horses if I was expecting a whole new game, a whole different experience, as the number 2 in the front of the name suggests. And we will find out in the 4th of October. But hey, this is just a theory against the... What? Wrong channel, I'm sorry. What I meant was, this is just my opinion, and please, I would love to know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to subscribe to this channel and drop a like below. This way you are not going to lose the next videos of Is It Worth the Hype? And once you are already there, why don't you watch these other videos that YouTube is suggesting you to watch? I promise you, you are going to like it. You are gonna love it. This is Lucas Highland. This was what to expect from Overwatch 2, and see you in the next video.